Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a review of these Copic original markers with the brush nibs installed. So normally the Copic original markers come with a chisel nib on one side and a bullet nib or fine nib on the other side. But you can actually buy a separate optional nib, which is a brush nib. They actually have quite a few nibs, but I was super curious about the brush nib. I didn't even know they existed until recently. And I'm really curious to see how they hold up to the Copic sketch nibs, which are called the super brush. Obviously, if you look at them, they just look a lot shorter than the super brushes, but hopefully they'll still be good. I think they'll be a really good option if you already have some Copic originals. I've seen a lot of people say they bought them by accident, so I was really curious to see if this was a good option for them or not. So inside the package, you get 3 nibs, and they also give you 3 stickers as well. I'm not really a fan of this. I think it's nice that they gave it, but I didn't use them myself. And then here is a close-up of the actual nibs. So the nibs are really interesting because they have this metal thing around them, and I don't think any of their other nibs have this metal thing. So I was a little confused by it and a little worried, but it actually wasn't too difficult to install. You just have to align the metal parts inside the nib hole. It seems like the metal side goes against the curved side inside the nib hole, and the non-metal side goes against the flat side. And then they have these 2 tabs on top, and you just like put your fingernails up against it and push in on either side, which is what I did. I guess you could also use like a pen if it has a metal clip on the pen. That could also be used to be helpful, or like if you have the Copic tweezers, I'm sure those could help too. So I didn't show the installation in real time because I thought it'd be kind of boring. I did show it in real time in the Sketch Fine nib review, so definitely check that out. I will put a link in the iCard. You can see more up close how to install there. It's pretty much the same process except for that you just have to align it and push it in. And I was super curious. You might see a nib in the top right corner with a little bit of pink at the bottom. I was curious to see if the super brushes fit in the Copic originals. And let me just save you some money. They don't. It just floats around in the top and it just pops out really easily. It doesn't fit at all. It's too small. And it did kind of stain the nib too, so I can't really use it. But yeah, I was curious. I had to try it. I wasn't sure if I was finished with the chisel nibs, so I actually reused the baggie that these nibs came in, and I just stored the 3 chisel nibs inside just in case I want to use them in the future. I'm not sure if they're going to dry up by the time I do use them, but I kind of felt better just keeping them in my drawer for now. Once the nib is installed, I find the tabs actually super easy to use because you can just pop your nail underneath and yank it out, and you can refill your marker really easily. And because the Copic originals hold more ink, it's actually really convenient because like you don't have to refill as often. So I was really happy with that. I would say that makes them a little bit nicer than the Copic sketch in that aspect because it's just super easy to pop them out and put them back in. So here's a comparison of the 2 brush nibs, the Copic Sketch Super Brush and the Copic Original Brush Nib side by side. The Copic Original Brush Nib is still juicing up. You can see the ink starting to seep in, but you can definitely tell the difference is that the brush nib is just so much smaller. But if you look really closely, especially after it's juiced up, it's more evident. But it seems like maybe the original brush nib is just the tip of the super brush, like just the very tip. I'm not sure why they made it so short. I'm not sure why they only put the tip there. I'm not even sure 100% sure if it's just the tip, but it looks like it. It looks identical. So yeah, I'm not sure why they made that decision, but there must be a reason, I guess. So before moving on to the speed paint version, I wanted to do a quick swatch page. I wanted to get a feel for the nib and also see how the nib compares to the Copic sketch nib. And the feel is really the only difference. If you look at the swatching, they look identical to me. I don't really see any difference at all. But the feel is definitely different. The feel is like feels like you're using a Copic sketch marker that's just short. It just feels really short. And I wanted to do a close-up of the Copic sketch with the fine nib installed and compare it to the Copic original with the brush nib installed. So it's the same kind of configuration, brush nib on one end, fine nib on the other side. And you also, for either one, you have to buy a marker and then buy some nibs to install. But I wanted to see which one was better, and I would give the edge between these two to the Copic sketch with the fine nib installed, because I noticed the fine nib is a little bit sharper. It's like actually finer than the fine nib or bullet nib that comes with the Copic original. So that's interesting. But of course, the Copic original holds more ink, so that's something to consider also. So for this illustration, I wanted to do something for Mermay. Mermay is happening right now. For the month of May, a lot of artists are following this drawing prompt where you draw mermaids every day. It was started by a guy on Instagram who was a former Disney employee. I'll put a link to his Instagram below because I kind of can't remember his name right now. But I found out about it last year and I absolutely love participating in it, but I only got a few drawings done. This year, I've done a lot more. I've been doing a lot of mermaids, especially in the last week or so. If you want to see them, then definitely check out my Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. I've been posting to all three. But I will also be doing a sketchbook tour at the end of Mermaid, which will be coming up in the next week or so. So yeah, I was really wanting to do a mermaid drawing for testing out these brush nibs. I had done this illustration in my sketchbook on the first few days of Mermaid. I really liked it. I thought she looked super sweet. So I decided to scan the sketch image into my computer, blow up the image a little bit, print it out onto sketch paper, and then transfer it onto my marker paper with my light pad. And I feel like I lost a little bit of something when I did the transfer. I feel like her face doesn't look as sweet as it did in the sketch, and there's a bit of movement that I lost in the hair. But I still really like it. I had so much fun coloring this one. Like, oh my gosh. I use a Copic Multiliner in wine for the line art, which is so funny to me because I was so against like colored liners for so long, but now I'm kind of addicted to them. It's crazy how that goes. So for the coloring, I wanted to use all three of the new brush nibs, but I ended up only using 2 of them, and I used some Copic sketch markers as well to kind of like balance out the drawing because I didn't want to do another 3 marker challenge since I already done that with the Copic original review. And I had so much fun with this one, and I think because I was using the sketch markers alongside with the brush nibs, I even got a better feel for how the differences or how they compare, which was really useful for this review. And before I go back to the review, I just also want to say I've been using a lot of glitter with my mermaids because I absolutely love glitter, especially when it comes to mermaids or fairies. I think it works really well, and I've been enjoying using my Wink of Stella pen so much. You'll see it towards the end of the drawing. I add a whole bunch of it. I kind of squeeze it a little too hard. It's kind of like a water brush you squeeze and the glitter will come out and then you apply it. So her skin, her tail starts to turn kind of silver, but I think it works. I think it looks really cool, and I'm really happy for you to see that part later. But yeah, I had so much fun with this one. So my final thoughts on these Copic original brush nibs. I think they're great. I think they're a really good product, and I'm really happy with the quality. I don't understand why they made it so short or why they used the metal. I'm assuming the metal is because it had to fit. But I'm not quite sure why they made it short. I'm not sure why they couldn't release the same like nib as the Copic sketch one, although maybe they wanted to make sure that each line had its own feature so they didn't lose business. I'm not sure. But in general, I think it's a really good buy. I would highly suggest it if you already have Copic markers. Like, even if you've watched my video on how to use the chisel tip, if you don't like the chisel tip still, then I would say go ahead and buy the brush nibs and install them. Definitely shop around though. Like, I will leave a link to where you could purchase it in the description below, but definitely shop around, get the best price, especially if you're buying lots of these. They can be as expensive for one pack as a whole marker. It depends on where you buy it, of course, but it can be kind of pricey. Sometimes it's as little as half of a marker. It really depends on the retailer. I would highly suggest them if that's the case. If also you were like looking for markers like on eBay, or like you found a store that's clearancing them or something and they had like a really super good deal for the Copic originals, I would just go for it, grab those up, and then get the brush markers. Even if you wanted the Copic sketch, I think that would make a really good buy because you're going to get the same kind of thing. It just feels slightly shorter. I think you'll be really happy with them. But if you had to buy them at normal price, I would still suggest just go for the Copic Sketch, because especially if you want the brush nib, it's more comfortable because the brush nib is longer on the Copic Sketch. So yeah, I think that's my final review. I really like them. They were so much fun to play around with. So much fun. I had a lot of fun doing this review. And just to be clear, this was not a sponsored video. I just did this because I wanted to try them out. I love trying out new art supplies and experimenting, so to me that's just so much fun. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you guys like this. Let me know if you guys are participating in Mermay as well. Definitely leave me a link below to your mermaids. I'd love to see that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video, please make sure to like it and leave me a comment down below so I know. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.